Have you made a loss in your property business? What happens next? Hi, I'm Kimberly Shapcotts, qualified chartered accountant, property investor and entrepreneur. Let's sit down and have a chat. I'm sorry to hear you've made a loss in your property business, but it's not the end of the world. What can we do with that loss now we've got it, and how are we going to make use of it now, in the future, or maybe even in the past? So let's have a look at how losses work in your property business. As I know in the first couple of years especially, I've seen a few property businesses where this has happened. And the main reason is things like training or big expenses that you are incurring on your properties. So the starting point is any loss that you make. So let's create a loss. We've got 10,000 of income and 20,000 of expenses to create a £10,000 loss. What can I do with that £10,000 loss? Well, the first thing that we can do is we can carry it forward, and that's fine. That's the easiest option, and that's what it will automatically do. And if you're in the very first year of business, then that potentially is going to be the only option you've got available. But it still might be the best option, and we'll come back to that later after we've just covered off some of the different options we have available to us. So let's go back to the beginning and start with calculating our loss. And a loss occurs whenever we have got our income less all our allowable expenses for tax purposes, which then creates a loss-making position. It's obviously never an ideal thing making a loss. We don't want that in our businesses, but unfortunately it does happen sometimes. Now the first step we need to make sure we do is whenever we do make a loss, we need to report it to HM Revenue and Customs. We need to calculate it and put it onto our corporation tax return. And this sets it in stone so that they know we have a loss. If we don't tell them, then they won't know, and they won't allow us to make use of this loss at a future point in time. We in essence have three options for losses. We can either carry it forward, we can carry it back, or we can set it against other income that we have in that corporation tax year. Now I'm going to work on the basis that most of the time we're making a loss in our whole business, so transferring it to another aspect of our business in the year is probably less likely to be possible. So the key ones that I want to mention on today's video is about whether we want to carry it forward or we may want to carry it back. Now, if you've got a business and it's the first year, your probably only options are going to be carry it forward. Whereas if you've been in business a number of years, you definitely have a couple of options. But we need to consider this very carefully. So let's have a look at the carry back option. And what we can do with a loss is we can carry it back to the previous 12 months. So if 12 months ago we were making a profit, whereas this year we're making a loss, what we can do is carry that profit back against the loss we made in the previous year, and any tax that we did pay, HMRC will recoup and repay to us. So that's great news that we can get some money back from HM Revenue and Customs. Now, one of the extra benefits at the moment is with the pandemic, they actually extended that. So rather than just carry it back for 12 months, we can actually carry it back for an extra 2 years. So we can carry it back for up to 3 years. So if you've made profits every year and it's just this year that you've made an unfortunate loss, depending what the profits were, you may be able to carry it back to last year and even the previous 2 years, depending on the timings, as obviously there is only certain years that you're able to do this in. But if that's the case, then it may be a way of getting a little extra tax back. Now, the reason I mentioned earlier that we may want to carry things forward is because we now know that the tax rates are changing. So in the past, we know that the tax rates have been 19%, which means we know how much tax we have paid and we knew how much tax we were going to pay. So on that basis, we just wanted to get the money back as soon as possible. However, going forward, we are now going into marginal tax rates, which means we have a 19% tax rate, we have a 26.5%, and we have a 25% tax rate, which means if we know we're going to be moving up to the 26.5% to 25% tax rate, then rather than getting 19% tax back from last year, and knowing we're going to have to pay 25% next year, it may actually be worthwhile to carry the tax loss forward and claim back that claim it against next year's profits rather than get the money back. So in essence, rather than getting money back, we're just going to have to reduce what we pay to the tax man next year. So now there is a bit of a question mark on whether we do carry back or we carry forward. And hopefully you can see why there may be a decision to make here to make sure that we're reducing your tax bill down to a minimum in all the years that it is going to be affected. Overall, we know that making a loss in our business is not the best thing. However, when we do make a loss, then hopefully we can get back into a profitable position, but we can make use of those losses, whether we can carry it back, whether we can carry it against other income in the business, or whether we can carry it forward, and look at what the best, most tax efficient way of managing those losses is to either get some money back or reduce any future tax liabilities. If you're not sure what the best option to do is, then do speak to your accountant and they will help you figure out what is going to be right for you and your business so that you're minimising any tax liabilities that you will need to pay now or in the future. Hopefully today you've discovered how you can make use of your losses in your property business and what happens when we move forward. If you have any questions, please do leave a comment. Please like the video and do subscribe to the channel, and let's make tax less taxing. Let's make tax less taxing.